I want to try to make an acrylic hand plane. One, I think it would just be cool to have, and two, I think it'd be a useful tool to show people how hand planes work. Probably wouldn't be the most like actually useful tool to use, of course, because it's made out of plastic and not metal. But regardless, I'm going to try to make one. It'll work similar to how the really, really old hand planes worked. I won't have any like moving parts like this more modern plane has. It'll just be a blade, a pin going all the way through the plane, and then a wedge that I beat against the pin and the blade to hold the blade in place. And that's pretty much it. Trying to keep it simple but also functional. Now I've done a little bit of work already. I've cut out a few pieces. The sides are just 1/4 inch acrylic. The front and back of the plane are made out of 2 pieces of 3/4 inch acrylic. So in total this thing will be able to use about 1.5 inch blade. Again, this is more for just fun, not so much practicality. I'll have to make my own blade, but I'm alright with that. The first step is going to be gluing these guys together. And to do that, I bought some special acrylic glue. It's supposed to, oh god, that's on my hand. I hope that's not toxic or anything. That freaks. I'm going to go wash my hands. So this stuff is supposed to actually soften up the acrylic so it can stick to itself, therefore like welding it together. So I want to make sure the surfaces are very clean. I'm going to start by just wiping it off, trying to get rid of any lint or dust. And then I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of any grease. Let that dry. Now, they give you this little applicator. It's like a hypodermic needle on a bottle. You're supposed to, let's start with the smaller piece. You're supposed to put a thin layer on your piece and then lightly press the 2 pieces together, let it sit for a few seconds so it softens the acrylic, and then you clamp it. So I'm just gonna get a good layer on there. Gonna clamp this guy together. It's not perfect, but we can work with it. Alright, now off camera I spent some time sanding these flush. I also buffed and sanded the inside face of these because it's going to be hard to get to them once I glue this up. The next step is going to be gluing the sides on here. And the throat of the plane, I'm not going to be able to change it or make it any smaller, so I'm just going to start with it very, very small because I can always file it to open it, but I can't exactly easily add material to make it smaller. And I'm going to try something different for this glue up. I'm going to clamp these guys together just loosely, and then I'm going to take some of that acrylic weld and then spread it on the seams. My hope is that it seeps in there and it gives it hopefully a better bond. So I'm going to double check, make sure everything's exactly where I want it. And I'm doing this is a piece of granite. It's fairly flat. It's probably not perfect, but it's good enough for this plane. I wouldn't want to do it on my workbench because that's got bumps and ridges in it. I'm not clamping it too tight because then I think I just make it bow. Plus I don't want to mar up the surface. Alright, this is what it looks like at 220 grit. It's almost like frosted. I'm going to take it over to the buffing wheel, hopefully get everything nice and shiny. Now, I found this old block plane in the trash. One of my neighbors was thrown out. I just stole the blade from it, ground it down so it fits in here, sharpen it up. It's good to go. It's not great quality steel, but I think it'll be fine for this. The next step is to make a pinhole to put a pin in here to drive our wedge against. I haven't made the wedge yet. Because I need to put the pin in. So, I'm just going to kind of estimate where I think it needs to be. I'm just going to go nice and slow, keep this piece of wood right underneath the acrylic to prevent it from cracking out the back. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to make the wedge out of this little piece of maple. Alright, after some sanding and filing, this is what the wedge looks like.